You're temporary. My friends are permanent. Relationships end. All the time, but friendships don't. My girlfriend said. This after ditching our anniversary for her squad. So I made myself temporary and walked out. Now she's back with her squad, begging at my door. What's up, Reddit? Figured I'd share what went down with me, 26 male, and my girlfriend Kayla, 24 female, after 2 years together. Let's just say living with her was like dating her entire friend group, and it got to the point where I had to decide if I was in a relationship or just paying rent for 5 people. Things blew up fast, and the way it ended? Yeah, you'll see. So I've been with Kayla for about 2 years, living together for 6 months, and honestly it felt less like moving in with my girlfriend and more like moving in with a traveling circus. Kayla's friends, Maya, Derek, Lena, and Travis, aka The Squad, yeah, they actually call themselves that, are glued to each other. They act like if one person's invited somewhere, all 5 show up like it's a package deal. At first, I thought it was kind of wholesome. Tight-knit group, inside jokes, the whole we're family vibe. That lasted about a month before I realized what squad life really meant. Them treating our apartment like their second home, me being the unpaid host, and Kayla acting like it was all normal. The first big test was a Friday night about 2 weeks after moving in. I came home from work, ready to relax, and walked into a living room that looked like a frat house after pledge week. Pizza boxes stacked on the counter, shoes scattered all over the floor, Travis lying across my couch like he paid rent here. I just stood there for a second, then said, cool, guess I wandered into an Airbnb I didn't list. Travis lifted his head and went, oh hey bro, we were just crashing until tomorrow. No, I shot back immediately, kicking the heel of one of his sneakers out of my path. You're not crashing, you're leaving, tonight. Kayla gave me that wide-eyed look like I was being harsh, but I wasn't about to play housekeeper for grown adults. I pointed at the empty boxes. And grab your trash. This isn't a landfill. That set the tone. They tried it again a week later after some movie night. Maya started laying out a blanket like she was about to set up camp on the floor. I didn't even let her finish. Maya, unless you got cash for half the rent, pack it up. Couch isn't free housing. She looked at Kayla, expecting backup, but Kayla just muttered something about me being particular. Yeah, damn right I'm particular when I'm paying half the bills. And don't get me wrong, I'm not the get of my lawn type of jerk, but these weren't harmless sleepovers or hangouts. It was straight on freeloading. The rides thing was next. Apparently, I was supposed to be their personal Uber, because I owned a car. One night, 1 a.m., Kayla shakes me awake saying, babe, can you pick us up? Travis is too tired to drive. I rolled over and said, not my problem. Tell him to try this new app called Uber. Works wonders. Then I went back to sleep. Kayla was salty about it the next morning, but she eventually dropped it when she realized I wasn't budging. The squad hated that I didn't play along. You could feel it every time they came over. They'd drop comments like, man, Ryan's so strict about his stuff, or Ryan's always working, never chills with us. One time, I overheard Derek telling Kayla I seemed jealous of their bond. I walked right into the kitchen and said, jealous? Of 4 adults who can't figure out how to spend a weekend without matching pajamas. Yeah, I'm losing sleep over that. He didn't say a word after that. Another night, Lena tried to borrow my gaming setup because her brother really wanted to try it. I laughed in her face. Yeah, and I really wanted to try being 6'5", but here we are. Not happening. She huffed, but that was the end of that. It wasn't even that I hated them as people. On their own, they weren't the worst. It was the way they operated as a hive. They'd roll in loud, spread out, and treat everything like community property. And Kayla, instead of setting boundaries, would just shrug and say, they're comfortable here. Comfortable? I snapped one day after finding Travis's hoodie draped over my gaming chair. Kayla, raccoons are comfortable in dumpsters too. Doesn't mean I want them in mine. She hated when I roasted them like that. But honestly, it was the only way to keep my sanity. If I didn't push back, they'd probably be living with us full time. The biggest blow up early on happened during a Sunday football game. I had invited a couple of my own friends over, finally thinking I'd get to use the space with my people. 15 minutes into the game, who barges in? The squad, arms full of snacks they hadn't paid for. Travis plopped down in the middle of the couch between my buddies, looked at the TV, and went, oh sweet, you guys already started. And I stood up, walked over, and said, yeah, because this is my thing with my friends. You're not invited. Out. Everyone froze. Kayla whispered, Ryan, like I was causing a scene. Nope, I cut her off. I'm not watching the game standing up in my own living room because your little pack of wolves can't spend one Sunday apart. You guys have your group stuff. This is mine. Get out. It got awkward, but they actually left. My friends were dying laughing afterward, saying, "Dude, you really told them to pack it." And yeah, I did. Because someone had to. By that point, it was obvious to me. This wasn't just Kayla and me living together. It was Kayla plus 4 extras, and I wasn't signing up for that. I told her straight up, "I didn't move in with your friends. I moved in with you. If you can't see the difference, that's a problem." She brushed it off, said I was still adjusting, but I wasn't adjusting. I was already checking exit strategies when the anniversary thing happened. Honestly, it felt like the universe just pushed me over the line. Our 2-year mark was coming up, and I figured, okay, let's give this one last shot. I planned something solid, not crazy expensive, but meaningful. So I sit down next to her one night. She's glued to her phone as usual, group chat buzzing like a Vegas slot machine. I tell her, "Got something planned for Saturday? Anniversary surprise?" The way she looked up at me, you'd think I just told her rent went up by $800. She blinked, sighed, and said, "Oh, that's the same night as Lena's birthday pregame." I laughed because I thought she was joking. She wasn't. "You're serious?" I asked. "Yeah," she said, setting her phone down like she was about to explain basic math to a toddler. Lena specifically picked Saturday. Derek's got a work thing Sunday, and Maya's been super stressed, and Travis needs the distraction. So Saturday's the only night that works for everyone. I stared at her. "So let me get this straight. Our 2-year anniversary versus Lena's pregame? And you're choosing Lena's pregame." She gave me this look like I was the unreasonable one. "Ryan, it's just one night. You know how important these things are to the group." "Yeah," I shot back. "But here's the thing. I'm not dating the group. I don't remember Lena giving me a key to this apartment or Travis paying half the rent. This is our anniversary, Kayla. Not a squad meetup." Her arms crossed instantly. Defense mode. Relationships end all the time. Friendships don't. You're temporary, Ryan. My friends are permanent. That line. Man, if you ever want to know when your relationship officially dies, it's when your girlfriend tells you you're basically a placeholder between group hangouts. I leaned back, smirked, and said, "Cool. Then why don't you just marry the group chat, since I'm temporary anyways?" She shook her head, already checking her phone again. "You don't get it. The group needs me." And I stared at her, honestly impressed at how brainwashed she sounded. "The group needs you? What is this? The Avengers? Is Lena's pregame some kind of world-saving event I didn't hear about?" She didn't laugh. Shocker. That was the moment I knew I was wasting my time. So I just nodded and said, "Got it. I'll let you save the world with your squad. I'll figure out my own Saturday night." She squinted at me, like she couldn't tell if I was bluffing. But I wasn't bluffing. My head was already moving boxes out of that apartment. By Friday night, she was already buzzing with excitement for Lena's birthday thing. She kept pacing the apartment, talking about outfits, squad playlists, who was bringing what. I didn't even bother reminding her about Saturday. I just sat there, half listening, thinking, yep, this is it. Tomorrow's the day I'm done. She noticed I was quiet and snapped, "You're not going to ruin this for me, Ryan. I already told Lena I'll be there." I looked up from my laptop and said, "Don't worry, I won't ruin it. I won't even be here." She froze for a second, then scoffed like I was bluffing again. But I wasn't. I'd already lined up a 1-bedroom across town I could afford on my own. Application was in my inbox, just waiting for me to hit send. And the best part? Saturday night, while she was chugging pregame snacks and posing for squad selfies, I was filling out a lease application. That was the anniversary that never happened. Instead of candlelight dinner and music, it was the night I officially started packing my exit plan. So, first thing Sunday morning, while Kayla was dead asleep after Lena's birthday bash, I hit submit on that lease application. 1 bedroom, 20 minutes away, decent rent I could handle solo. Felt like freedom in my inbox. By Tuesday, I had the approval. That was the fastest yes I'd gotten in months, and it didn't even come from my own girlfriend. From there, it turned into a game of timing. Kayla was always gone with the squad, so I didn't even have to sneak. Monday night, she was at Maya's self-care evening, which apparently means eating takeout on the floor and pretending it's therapy. I carried out 2 boxes of clothes and my guitar. Wednesday, she was at Travis's place helping him or organize his vibe, whatever that means. So I loaded my gaming setup and books into the car. It was almost funny. Her group chat was so busy planning Lena's after-party brunch that none of them even noticed I was posting up trips to my car like UPS. By Thursday, I had maybe half my stuff gone, and Kayla hadn't said a word. The only time she even glanced at me all week was when she walked through the door complaining that Maya hadn't answered the group text fast enough. Meanwhile, the closet looked like a clearance rack at the mall, half-empty hangers swinging, and she didn't even register it. Friday rolled around and I figured I'd grab the rest over the weekend while she was distracted. But of course, she gave me another reminder of why I was leaving in the first place. My mom had a follow-up appointment after her surgery. I'd asked Kayla earlier in the week if she wanted to come with me. You know, just to show face since my family had started noticing her pattern of squad first, everything else later. She promised she'd try. Friday morning, I get a text. Sorry, babe. Can't make it. Lena needs me to help set up for her pool thing tomorrow. I actually laughed out loud in the waiting room when I read it. Not a mean laugh, just that kind of laugh where you realize, yeah, I made the right call. My mom asked what was funny, and I just shook my head. No point dragging her into this circus. That night, while Kayla was on FaceTime with Lena planning pool float arrangements, I grabbed another batch of boxes. She didn't even notice me hauling my coffee maker out of the kitchen. When I passed through the living room with my office chair wedged in the doorway, she just waved absent-mindedly like I was a delivery guy. Honestly, she was barely even home that week, bouncing between squad hangouts like it was her full-time job, so the empty shelves didn't even register. By the next weekend, my new place was already looking lived in. Mattress on the floor, TV balanced on a crate, and my gaming setup already running. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. No random sneakers in the hallway, no half-eaten fries abandoned on the counter. Just quiet. I almost felt bad for how easy it was. Almost. Sunday night, the squad descended on our apartment for what Kayla called a pre-pool planning session. Translation: eating chips, talking loud, and arguing about playlists. I sat in the bedroom packing the last of my clothes, listening to them argue over whether Travis or Derek should be in charge of bringing the speaker. At one point, Travis banged on the door and yelled, "Yo, Ryan, you got an aux cord we can borrow?" I opened the door holding my nearly empty closet. Nah, bro, everything I own is already plugged into my car. He laughed, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. Kayla didn't even notice half my wardrobe missing until later that night. She walked into the bedroom, saw me folding the last pile of shirts into a suitcase, and frowned. "Why are you packing so much?" she asked, like I was going on a vacation. "Something like that," I said, zipping it closed. She narrowed her eyes, but before she could ask more, Lena shouted from the living room that they were out of salsa, and Kayla ran to help like it was a 5-alarm fire. Perfect timing. By midweek, I was basically living in my new apartment. I still had a couple things to grab, some tools, a box of old photos, but I was already sleeping at the new place. Eating there, waking up there. It felt like detox. Meanwhile, Kayla was still acting like nothing was happening. She didn't ask where my coffee maker went. She didn't ask why the bookshelf was gone. She didn't even notice that half the kitchenware had disappeared. She was too busy making pool party flyers for Lena, like they were running a marketing agency. That's when it clicked for me. She wasn't blind. She just didn't care. And if she didn't care, I sure as hell didn't owe her a warning. The only reason she finally noticed was because I underestimated how quick she'd be home one night. She was supposed to be at Travis's place for pool float inflating. Yes, that was a real event in their calendar. But apparently they wrapped early. She walked in just as I was carrying my PC tower out the door. She froze in the entryway, staring at me like she'd walked into a crime scene. "Ryan, why does the apartment look so empty?" I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Maybe because it's not my apartment anymore." Her mouth opened but nothing came out. For once, no squad script to fall back on. I carried the tower past her, popped the trunk, and set it gently in the back seat. When I came back inside, she was still standing there, staring at the bare shelves like they'd betrayed her. That was the moment she realized what was really happening. And that was the moment I realized the fun part was just getting started. Kayla followed me into the bedroom like she was auditing the scene of a robbery. She stood in the doorway, eyes darting from the half-empty closet to the bare dresser, to the pile of folded hangers on the floor. Her jaw tightened, her voice cracked. Are you moving out?" I zipped up the last duffel bag and slung it over my shoulder. "Congrats, Sherlock. Took you long enough." That's when her face snapped from shock to anger, like someone flipped a switch. "You're seriously leaving me because I have friends? Because I won't ditch the people who've been there for me for years?" I sat down on the edge of the bed, calm as ever, elbows on my knees. "Kayla, it's not about you having friends. It's about me not wanting to live in a frat house I didn't pledge for. You want to be the squad's full-time babysitter? Cool. But don't expect me to be the sixth roommate footing half the bills." She threw her hands up. "This is insane. You're making me choose between you and them." I laughed, shook my head. "No, I'm making myself choose. I asked you for one night. One. Our anniversary. You couldn't give me that because Lena's pregame apparently needed a hype woman more than I needed a girlfriend. That's all I needed to know. Her eyes narrowed like I'd just insulted her personally. You're twisting this. You knew what you were getting into when we started dating. This is who I am. Yeah, I said, standing up with the bag in my hand. I thought who you were was someone who wanted to build something. Turns out you just wanted a squad mascot. That's not me. She stared at me like I'd just spoken in another language. So that's it? You're throwing away 2 years over one night? Kayla, it wasn't one night. It was graduation. It was my brother's wedding. It was my mom's surgery. All skipped because Maya needed a vent session or Travis needed a distraction. 2 years of me being the backup plan. I'm not dumb enough to sign up for year 3. Her mouth opened like she wanted to argue, but nothing came out. She just stood there, looking around the half-empty room like she was trying to find backup in the furniture. Then came the switch-up. The tears started, her voice dropped softer, and she went for the nostalgia card. But what about everything we shared? Remember when we went to that concert and ran into Derek and Maya? Or when we cooked dinner for everyone during lockdown? All those memories? I cut her off. You just proved my point. Every single memory you picked was squad-related. You can't even name a moment that was just us without them tagging along. She froze, lips parted, realizing I'd nailed it. I set the key on the dresser and picked it back up. I'll drop this off after I grab the rest this weekend when you're at Lena's pool party. No point interrupting the sacred squad calendar. Her tears dried up instantly, replaced with fire. You can't just walk away like this. This isn't over, Ryan. I slung the duffel bag higher on my shoulder and smirked. You're right. It's not over. It's just over for me. The rest of you can keep playing house. She followed me down the hall, voice getting louder with every step. You're selfish. You're throwing away everything we built just because you can't handle me having a social life. I stopped at the door, turned, and leaned against the frame. Number. I'm throwing it away because you couldn't handle a relationship. There's a difference. For once, she didn't have a comeback. She just stood there in the living room, arms crossed, squad calendar magnets still plastered across the fridge like commandments. And then she tried one last play. Her voice cracked again, this time trying to land sympathy. Ryan, what am I supposed to tell them? They won't understand this. They'll think I failed. I tilted my head. Tell them the truth. Tell them you prioritized being the squad's MVP over being my girlfriend. Hell, I'll even write it down for you if you need a script. She glared, eyes glossy, but I could see the cracks. She wasn't worried about me. She was worried about how the breakup would look to her little committee. I opened the door and tossed the last bag into my trunk. Sitting in that driver's seat felt like finally getting air after being underwater too long. And I knew right then, she wasn't going to let it end quietly. Saturday morning, my phone started buzzing before I even got out of bed. At first, I thought it was a spam call, but nope, it was Kayla. Back-to-back missed calls, a wall of texts. We need to talk. You can't just disappear. Be an adult. I didn't respond. If she wanted closure, she could ask her committee for it. By lunch, the squad had joined in. Travis left me a voicemail that sounded like a middle school principal trying to scold me. Bro, you're being immature. You can't just walk away without working it out. I hit delete halfway through. An hour later, Maya sent a paragraph-long text that ended with, "You're tearing apart the family we built." Family. I nearly spit out my coffee. These people honestly thought sharing fries and gossip was the same as blood ties. I fired back one message just to shut her up. Didn't realize I was married to the Avengers. Family meeting adjourned. Muted the thread after that. By evening, I'd gotten messages from all four. Derek tried the calm approach. Let's meet up, man. We can talk it out. Lena tried the guilt trip. Kayla is devastated. She can't eat. And Maya tried the moral high ground. Abandoning her without notice is emotional abuse. Emotional abuse? For leaving an apartment I paid half the rent for? Yeah, okay. I ignored all of it. Silence turned out to be gasoline on their fire. Sunday morning, I was finally feeling some peace at my new place. Guess I shouldn't have been shocked. Kayla must have seen the lease email on our shared laptop, because there they were at my buzzer. Kayla. And behind her? The whole damn squad. I actually laughed. They were standing outside like a dollar store boy band, lined up shoulder to shoulder. Kayla in front, arms crossed, squad fanned out behind her like backup singers. I grabbed my keys, stepped outside, and leaned on the doorframe. What is this? Power Rangers assemble. What's the plan, guys? Intervention? Group therapy? Kayla jumped right in, loud enough for neighbors to peek out their windows. We need to settle this right now. You don't get to just disappear and ignore everyone. We're all adults here. I tilted my head. Funny. Adults usually know how to respect boundaries. That's when Travis puffed up his chest and took a step forward. Dude, you're being a selfish piece of shit. Do you know how much you're hurting her? How much you're hurting all of us? I blinked at him. All of you? That's wild, considering I've known you for less than 2 years, and half the time you were passed out on my couch. How exactly am I hurting you, Travis's? He opened his mouth, shut it, then muttered something about family. I raised an eyebrow. Right. Family. Except last I checked, family pays rent. Family buys groceries. Family doesn't eat my leftovers and leave empty cartons in the fridge. You're not family, bro. You're freeloaders with a group chat. That shut him up. Maya started crying then, like actual tears. You're breaking us apart. Don't you care what this does to Kayla? I crossed my arms. Kayla cared more about Lena's pool party than my mom's surgery. She cared more about your birthday pre-games than our anniversary. If she didn't care about me, why should I care now? Lena whipped out her phone and started recording. You're going to regret saying that, I smirked. Perfect. Make sure you get my good side. Maybe you can upload it to your squad TikTok. Oh wait, doesn't work so well when you look like clowns? Derek, who had been quiet the whole time, tried stepping in. Ryan, come on. We're just asking you to meet in the middle. No one's saying ditch us completely, just don't throw away everything. I cut him off. Derek, you've got a fiancé. What happens when Emma tells you she's sick of this squad cult? You gonna skip your own wedding to make sure Travis gets his Friday night nachos? Exactly. Grow up. His face flushed red. He didn't answer. Kayla finally snapped, her voice shaking with fury. This isn't over. You can't just end it like this. We've been through too much. I took a step closer, so they all leaned back a little. Kayla, it was over the second you told me I'm temporary, and your friends are permanent. You made your choice. I'm just holding you to it. The silence after that was golden. I pulled my phone out, scrolled, and held it up. You've got 30 seconds before I call security. 29 now. They all just stood there, muttering, shifting, like they didn't know what to do. I started counting down louder. 25, 24, 23. By the time I hit 20, they shuffled off like middle schoolers caught smoking behind the gym. Kayla was the last to move, glaring over her shoulder. You'll regret this, Ryan. You're gonna be alone when they're gone. I gave her a lazy salute. Better alone than babysitting a daycare. Security showed up a minute later, asked if I wanted to file a report. I said no, as long as they stayed gone. The guard chuckled and said, Don't worry, we'll keep an eye out. They looked like they were about to start a flash mob. I went back upstairs, shut the door, and finally sat down in peace. My phone buzzed a few more times that evening, but I didn't answer. By Monday morning, the calls slowed down. By Wednesday, the texts shifted from guilt trips to insults. Coward, controlling, emotional leech. I just muted every number one by one. Let them scream into the void. The funny part? For people who claimed they were family, they folded quick when one person set boundaries. They weren't a squad. They were just codependent, clinging to each other because no one else would put up with them. And deep down, Kayla knew it. That's why she wasn't going to stop. After the whole budget Avengers Assemble scene outside my building, life got real quiet. And by quiet, I mean blissfully normal. No buzzing group chat at 2 a.m., no random shoes in my hallway, no one leaving empty soda cans on my counter. My new apartment wasn't much. Mattress on the floor, TV sitting on a crate, but it was mine. And that felt better than anything I'd had in months. First thing I did was hit up a couple of my old buddies I hadn't seen in forever. We grabbed wings, watched a game, talked trash like nothing had changed. Funny how freeing up your weekends from babysitting duty suddenly gives you time for your actual friends. One of them even joked, Damn, Ryan, you disappeared like you joined witness protection. I just laughed and said, Yeah, except the people I'm hiding from are addicted to group selfies instead of crime. And then there was Julia. Met her through a mutual friend at a cookout. She wasn't flashy, no squad nickname, no matching hoodies. Just chill, funny, and actually paid attention when you talked. We grabbed dinner the following week, just the two of us, and I swear it felt alien that she didn't check her phone once. Halfway through the meal, I caught myself waiting for her to glance at her notifications. But nope, she just sat there, listening, laughing, throwing in sarcasm that matched mine. That's when I realized, oh, so this is what normal dating feels like. Meanwhile, word about the squad's perfect bond started leaking through the grapevine. Derek's fiancée Emma apparently had zero patience for the squad cult. She straight up told him that if he wanted to build a future, he couldn't keep playing teenager with Kayla and company every weekend. Derek tried to juggle it for a bit, but engagement planning plus Emma's side of the family quickly outmuscled Lena's pool parties. Last I heard, he only shows up to squad stuff once every few weeks, and even then he leaves early. Maya's story was even better. She got a promotion at work. Good for her. But it came with a relocation. Portland. When she broke the news, Kayla apparently treated it like a funeral. Real friends don't abandon each other for career opportunities, she told her. Yeah, because rent gets paid with friendship bracelets, right? Maya still tried to keep things alive with Zoom calls, but Kayla apparently kept giving her the cold shoulder. Real supportive bestie behavior. And the icing on the cake? Lena and Travis. For years, they'd been doing this on again, off again thing everyone pretended didn't exist. Well, now it was officially on. Serious enough that they actually started showing up as a couple, not just sneaking off after squad nights. That instantly ruined Kayla's favorite excuse about how the group needed her because of the balance she provided. Once Lena and Travis paired up, half the drama fuel dried up. And Kayla? She hated it. Word is, she kept bringing up what happens if they break up, like it was a natural disaster the group had to prepare for. So in the span of a few months, their little empire crumbled. Derek out, Maya gone, Lena and Travis locked in their own bubble. That left Kayla standing there, clutching the remains like the last kid at a birthday party nobody showed up to. And this is the part that killed me. She started telling people that everyone was pulling Orion. Her words, not mine. Derek was pulling Orion by prioritizing Emma. Maya was pulling Orion by focusing on her career. Lena and Travis were pulling Orion by choosing each other over the squad. Apparently, my name became slang for growing up. I should have trademarked it. The irony was too good. She called me selfish for wanting balance, but now that the squad was shrinking, suddenly it was a tragedy. Suddenly, everyone was betraying her. She told mutuals that I planted the seed of abandonment, like I was some cult leader whispering independence into their ears. If only I had that kind of power. While she spiraled, I was actually enjoying myself for the first time in years. Went to a concert with Julia and some of her friends. No one demanded 5 group photos before the first song. No one got mad because the fries weren't shared evenly. No one treated leaving at midnight like a betrayal. Just people having fun. Afterward, Julia leaned over and said, "Your ex really had you trapped in a weird setup, huh?" I grinned. Yeah, it was like dating someone with 4 permanent chaperones. I don't recommend it. By the time I got home that night, I had 6 missed calls from random numbers. Didn't bother checking. I already knew what it was. Kayla fishing through burner phones, desperate to reel me back in. The thing is, she didn't understand the math. One guy leaving was an inconvenience. 4 people pulling back? That was a reality check. And the reality was, the squad only worked because everyone played along. Once people started living their own lives, the whole structure collapsed like a bad Jenga tower. And all I had to do was walk away. But of course, Kayla couldn't leave it there. A week after I heard about her complaining everyone was pulling Orion, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Ryan, it's me." I didn't say anything. "I know you've been ignoring me," she rushed on, "but I've been thinking a lot. Maybe we could grab coffee, just talk." I chuckled. Talk about what? How Lena's pool float collection is holding up? Silence on the line. Then a soft, "I messed up. I see that now. I didn't realize how much I was pushing you away." I hung up without a word. That should have been the end. But Kayla wasn't built for subtlety. Over the next few days, she sent texts like, "I get it now, I didn't balance things. I see what you meant about priorities. You were right about everything. All the greatest hits months too late." I showed Julia one of them, and she laughed. "So now she wants to rebrand you as her life coach?" "Apparently," I said, "but my schedule's full." I stayed silent. That silence probably drove her crazier than anything I could have replied with. Then came the run-in. Julia and I were out at this Italian place downtown, grabbing dinner before a movie. Halfway through my pasta, I noticed a familiar laugh across the room. I glanced over. There she was. Kayla, sitting at a corner table with Travis and Lena. Of course. She spotted me before I could look away. Her eyes widened, and you could see the gears turning in her head. Do I walk over? Do I make a scene? Julia caught me tense up. "X?" she guessed. "X," I confirmed. To her credit, Kayla didn't storm over immediately, but as Julia and I were heading out, she intercepted us by the exit. "Ryan, hey, can I talk to you for a minute?" Julia squeezed my hand and said she'd wait by the car. Smoothest move she could have made. Kayla looked different. Tired, maybe. Or maybe it was just the fact that without her squad propping her up, she seemed smaller. "I know you've been ignoring me," she said quickly, like she'd practiced it in the mirror. And I get why. I wanted to say you were right. About all of it. About balance, about priorities, about, about me not knowing how to be a partner. I see it now. I nodded. Appreciate that. Her eyes searched mine. I'm not asking for another chance. I just needed you to know I understand now. And I'm sorry. And for the first time, it sounded real. No excuses, no squad references, just flat honesty. I nodded again. Good. Then we're on the same page. She glanced toward the parking lot, where Julia was waiting by the car. Kayla's lips twitched into a sad smile. She seems nice. I hope she knows what she's got. She does, I said simply. And that was it. She went back inside. I walked to the car. Julia asked if I was okay, and I realized I actually was. A week later, word filtered down through mutuals. The squad was officially done. Derek was deep into wedding planning with Emma. Maya was settling into her new life in Portland. Lena and Travis were all about each other, no group needed. Kayla, meanwhile, was still sending nostalgic remember when messages in the old group chat, trying to keep it alive. Nobody replied. That was the part that got me. She couldn't see it until it was too late. Relationships, friendships, partnerships, whatever, only work if both people actually invest. Once people realize they're wasting their energy, they leave. Me? I didn't waste anything anymore. I put effort where it mattered and cut off where it didn't. Simple math. Last weekend, Julia met some of my friends. No group hierarchy, no unspoken rules, no squad loyalty. Just normal adults hanging out, laughing, enjoying themselves. At one point, Julia leaned over and said, "This is so easy." And yeah, it was. That's the difference. So what did I learn? Sometimes the best move isn't giving ultimatums or begging someone to see your side. Sometimes the best move is packing your stuff, walking out, and letting their own choices collapse around them. Kayla wanted to test if her squad would always be there after me. Looks like she finally got her answer. And me? I didn't just walk away. I walked up.